The movie opens in an old, isolated village where a strange man named Straker is seen giving orders to a group of workers. He wants them to retrieve a coffin hidden inside a house that has been sealed for many years. Straker chose this house for a reason. He is trying to protect a dark secret buried there. At the same time, we meet Ben, a writer who has returned to his hometown to work on a new book. Since he also needs a place to stay, he contacts a young woman who helps people find houses. She turns out to be a huge fan of Ben, and the two quickly become friends. Meanwhile, Straker, the same man from the opening scene, follows two young brothers and kidnaps the younger one. He takes the boy to the abandoned house where the coffin is hidden, and this is when the terrifying truth is finally revealed. As the coffin slowly opens, a vampire that has been sleeping for 1,000 years emerges from inside. We also discover who Straker really is. He has been serving the vampire all along, bringing him human victims. The kidnapped child becomes the vampire's next prey. The older brother Danny is devastated when his little brother disappears, and the shock makes him seriously ill. One night in the hospital, Danny hears his brother's voice and sees his shadow outside the window. But it is not just a shadow. His brother has returned as a vampire. He attacks Danny, bites him, and drinks his blood, leaving Danny weak and infected with the vampire curse. From that moment, Danny's condition rapidly gets worse. Doctors run several tests and discover that his blood levels have dropped dangerously low. When he wakes up, he is consumed by an unbearable thirst and keeps begging for water. The moment his mother leaves the room to get some, Danny loses control and begins drinking blood instead. Everyone in the hospital is horrified. The doctors try to restrain him, but nothing works. Soon afterward, Danny dies and a funeral is arranged. After the funeral, everyone leaves the cemetery except the gravedigger, who falls asleep beside Danny's coffin. When he wakes up, he hurriedly starts working again, but then he hears a voice coming from inside the coffin. Thinking Danny might still be alive, he opens it. Suddenly, Danny's eyes snap open. They are glowing red. With unnatural strength, he leaps out of the coffin and attacks the gravedigger, sinking his teeth into the man's neck. The next morning, the same gravedigger is going about his daily routine when he meets a school teacher. The teacher notices that the man looks terribly pale and sick. Before he can ask what happened, the man collapses and dies on the spot. When the teacher checks the body, he briefly sees two strange puncture marks on the neck, but they disappear moments later. Something feels deeply wrong to him. The doctor confirms that the man is dead, though the exact cause must be determined through further examination, so the body is taken to the hospital. Meanwhile, Danny, now fully transformed into a vampire, visits the house of his friend Peter. Peter knows the old vampire legends of the town, and the moment he sees Danny, he realizes what he has become. He refuses to let him in, but Danny uses his vampire powers to influence Peter's mind and force him to open the window. Just as Danny's about to attack, Peter manages to break free from the control. He grabs a small cross from the table and presses it against Danny, causing him terrible pain. Danny screams and flees into the darkness. By the end of the scene, Peter and the teacher begin to understand the horrifying truth. The vampires have returned, and their town is about to face a new nightmare. Both of them had grown up hearing the old vampire legends of their village, so they already knew what these creatures were supposed to be capable of. Terrified that the stories might actually be true, they began searching for anything that could protect them from vampires. As they investigate, we discover that Mike, the man whose body mysteriously disappeared from the hospital, has become a vampire as well. He sneaks into the teacher's house and launches a brutal attack. Mike bites the teacher, drinks his blood, and tries to turn him into another vampire. In desperation, the teacher grabs a cross and holds it out in front of him. Just like what happened with Danny, the cross burns Mike's skin, forcing him to scream in pain and flee into the darkness. At the same time, the doctor is deeply disturbed by the disappearance of his wife's body. He goes to check on the teacher and finds him in terrible condition. Now the truth becomes impossible to ignore. Everyone realizes that a massive disaster is about to strike the village. By this point, it seems that a new person is turning into a vampire every single day. The most frightening part is that no one knows where this vampire infection began, and finding the source has become their only hope. They call Ben, the writer, for help, but he still refuses to believe the vampire stories. The teacher looks at him and says, "Everything that's happening is connected to those two vampires." I'm certain of it. If you want proof, go look at Danny's mother. She was completely healthy just a few days ago. If she died within a single day, then Danny must have bitten her and drunk her blood. And if she rises as a vampire, that means the infection has already spread through our town. Determined to stop the nightmare, the teacher decides to join the hunt for Stroker. He is convinced that Stroker is working with the vampires. Following his plan, he heads to the abandoned house where Stroker has been hiding a vampire's coffin. When he arrives, he is shocked to find Peter already searching the place alone. The two begin talking, unaware that Stroker has secretly locked them inside. Suddenly, they realize they are trapped in a pitch-black room with a vampire that could attack at any moment. And that is exactly what happens. While they are talking, the vampire senses their presence and lunges at them. They run for their lives, desperately trying to escape, but the creature catches the teacher and bites him. Peter manages to hide, trembling in fear as the vampire stalks the room. Meanwhile, the rest of the group goes to the morgue, where Danny's mother's body is being kept. To their horror, she is already standing there as a vampire. They instinctively raise their crosses, but she snaps them apart with terrifying strength and attacks the doctor. Ben and his friend try to stop her by throwing a bedsheet over her, but she still manages to bite the doctor on the neck. At the last second, Ben presses a cross against her, burning her and driving her back. Even so, the doctor may already be infected. He quickly cleans the wound and injects himself with a drug, hoping to stop the infection from spreading body. After that, they rush to a church to seek help from the priest. Back at the vampire house, Stroker has tied Peter up, planning to offer him to the vampire as its next victim. But Peter sees a chance to survive. He fights back, breaks free from the ropes, and makes a desperate attempt to escape. And in the church, even after everything that has happened, the priest still cannot decide whether vampires are truly real. Then Peter rushes into the church, completely shaken. He has just killed Stroker, and now he tells the priest that everything people have been saying is true. The vampire is real, and it is hiding inside that old building. Peter explains that the creature attacked his teacher right in front of his eyes, and by now the teacher is probably turning into a vampire as well. The sun is about to set, which means the vampires will become much stronger once darkness covers the town. The priest and Peter decide they have to warn the villagers and call the police for help. But before they can do anything, the master vampire suddenly appears and attacks right in front of them. Barlow comes after Peter because Peter has escaped from him several times already. Soon, Peter's own parents become victims of the vampire. After biting them, Barlow turns his attention to the priest. At first, the priest tries to fight him off using holy objects, but his faith is too weak. The vampire overpowers him and attacks him as well. The others manage to escape the house. Meanwhile, when Ben's friend returns home, she discovers that her mother has already been bitten by a vampire. Within moments, her mother loses control, attacks her own daughter, and bites her too. Ben rushes his friend to the doctor, hoping there is still a chance to save her, but they are too late. Before the doctor can help, the girl transforms into a full vampire and tries to attack Ben. They barely manage to escape. When they step outside, they realize that Barlow's plan is already working. He first turned a few townspeople into vampires, and then used them to spread the infection throughout the village. One by one, almost everyone is being bitten and added to Barlow's growing vampire family. The town has now become a nightmare. At the same time, several vampires arrive at the place where Peter has been hiding, but Peter's no longer hiding. He is hunting Barlow. He is determined to find the master vampire and kill him. He does not find Barlow, but he does find his friend Danny. Danny attacks him from the darkness, but Peter is ready this time. He drives a wooden stake straight through Danny's heart, killing him instantly. Peter knows that a vampire can only be destroyed by piercing the heart or the brain. Black blood covers his clothes as he walks away from the scene. Outside, he meets Ben and the doctor. They have just come from Peter's house, where they found his parents dead. Peter had left behind a note that read, "Mom, Dad, no matter what happens, I will take revenge on that vampire for you." After reading the note, Ben grabs Peter and tells him to forget revenge for now and move quickly. It's morning now. We should leave this town before sunset and get out of here, Ben says. But Peter refuses. He looks at them and says, "I made a promise to myself. I'm not leaving until I kill the creature that murdered my parents. And how do we know we'll be safe if we run away? What if these vampires spread to other towns and start killing more people? He believes there is only one way to stop the nightmare. They have to kill the master vampire Barlow. Seeing Peter's courage and determination, the doctor and Ben agree to help him. Together, they set out to find Barlow once and for all. When they reach an open field, they notice dozens of cars parked close together. Ben quickly realizes what is happening. The vampires are hiding inside the cars to protect themselves from the sunlight. He opens the trunk of one car and is shocked to find people he once knew, now turned into vampires. One by one, the vampires begin crawling out of the vehicles. They are still alive because the sunlight is being blocked by a huge billboard standing nearby. As the creatures move toward Ben, he tries desperately to escape. Just before they can reach him, Peter drives in and crashes into the giant sign. The billboard falls and sunlight pours directly onto the vampires. Instantly, they begin burning alive. Ben and Peter manage to kill several of them, while a few others escape into the darkness. As evening approaches, they finally discover Barlow's coffin outside. They struggle with all their strength to open it, but it refuses to budge. Barlow has used his dark vampire powers to seal the coffin shut. Then night falls completely. Without warning, Barlow emerges from the coffin on his own. Now he is at full strength, far more powerful than either of them. Realizing they have no chance in a direct fight, Ben and Peter run for their lives. In the chaos, they become separated. Ben hides inside a house, but his vampire friend finds him there. He never wanted to hurt her, even after she became a vampire. But when she attacks him, he is forced to drive a sharp wooden stake through her heart to save himself. At the same time, Peter is captured by Barlow. He tries to fight back, but Barlow's strength is overwhelming. Peter hides beneath a heavy crate, hoping to escape, but Barlow smashes it apart. Just as the master vampire is about to bite him, something suddenly pierces Barlow's head. Ben has arrived at the last possible moment. Remembering Peter's instructions on how to kill a vampire, Ben grabs a large holy cross and drives it deep into Barlow's brain. The master vampire is finally destroyed. With Barlow dead, all the other vampires lose their power. One by one, they collapse and die. Ben and Peter have finally ended the vampire curse that haunted the town, but the victory comes at a terrible cost. Most of the townspeople are dead, and only Ben and Peter survive. With nothing left for them in that place, they get into their car and drive away, leaving the ruined town behind. And that's where the movie comes to an end. So what do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Also, subscribe to this channel for more stories like this.